Hello guys and welcome back to the channel, and as you can see from the thumbnail and the title, today I'm doing a tag video. It is a tag to do with your favourite movie genre. Now, it's probably not going to take a lot of you much time to guess what that is. This was started by a channel called Nerdy Geezer 78, which I have recently subscribed to, having become aware of the tag. And I was actually tagged by lovely Marcus from X-File 2708, hang on. Yes, X-File 2708, I got it right. Marcus is a legend, awesome dude. I was so glad that he tagged me. I had seen Sammy do this, or Sam, on Sammy G's World of Cinema. And weirdly enough, if you can hear little taps, my dog has made an appearance down here. I'll just let you see her. One of my little doggies. There you go. This is Dobby, the Chihuahua Jack Russell cross. Can I put you down? Hey? Right, down you go. There we go. Probably covered in white hairs now. So, I had seen two people do this, and one of the people picked one of my favourite genres and the other picked my other, because I've got two, but I think we all know what the main one is. So, this is just really talking about your favourite genre, how you started, just a bit of waffle. So you'll have to bear with me because I haven't prepared anything, I haven't written anything down. I picked a few movies off the shelves. As you know, I don't collect movies because I don't really have the space. People are saying, get rid of all this shit and you've got the space. I can't afford it. This is all like birthday and Christmas presents, but in the future, when the house is my own again and my kid moves out, I might well start collecting, who knows. But I am weird like that. I will probably only ever buy favourites. I'm not a person to buy everything. If I don't think I will watch a movie multiple times, I'm not going to buy it, but there you go. So, my favourite genre, of course, is horror. I do love drama. I'm very fond of drama. I like a good character study. Sam chose drama in his, and so many awesome movies. He spoke about The Shawshank Redemption, things like that. But horror has always had my heart. I think it goes back to when I was a kid, single digits. My dad used to take me to the local video store on a Saturday evening. My dad was a massive Stephen King fan, should I say is, he's still with us. He used to get out, you know when you knew nothing about a movie, back in the days where the only way to see a trailer was if you went to the cinema, which we didn't do an awful lot when I was a kid because we were skint. It was a rare treat to go to the cinema, or you would see them on before you watched your movie on your VHS. Yes, your VHS folks, we're that old. You'd see the trailers. But you picked movies then based on covers, and I can remember watching most of Stephen King's back catalogue at that stage when I was a wee thing. The things I watched, honest to God. So I remember movies like my two first horror movies were Silver Bullet, the werewolf movie with Corey Haim, and Poltergeist. Poltergeist terrified me in my childhood. My main fear around horror tends to be spooky wooky ghosties, paranormal. I don't tend to get frightened by slashers or gory things. For some reason my brain can separate that, but ghosts scares the bejesus out of me. But I had my son watch Poltergeist when he was about, I think, 10, and he's like, Mom, what? There's nothing in that to be frightened of, and he's not remotely scared of it. So I don't know, maybe I'm just a wuss. So yeah, Poltergeist and Silver Bullet were two of my first. I remember watching the original It TV series with, was it a TV series? I'm sure it was a mini-series. I watched that. Christine, I'm really racking my brains. You know all the really old Stephen King movies? Carrie, I absolutely adored Carrie as a kid, although the opening scene from Carrie where the girls are cavorting in the changing rooms, and I was really young, and I was watching that, guys, with my mum, my dad, and my grandparents. All of which, bar my dad, were really stuffy. That was so embarrassing, honest to God. But I was watching horror when I was really young. My most embarrassing, if you know me, you'll know this story. It was in the days of VHS. It was a Saturday evening. It was in the days where if you wanted to change a channel on your TV or fast forward, you went down with your finger and you did it. Making myself sound. I remember my son once saying to me, were TVs black and white when you were young? No, son, I'm not quite that old yet. But my dad had rented The Fly with Jeff Goldblum, one of my favourites. I love that movie. I still love it to today. I still think it's got some of the best body horror effects out there. Absolutely love it. Love Jeff Goldblum. The guy is effortlessly cool. He's fantastic. But In the middle of The Fly, there's quite an extended love scene, and I'm sat with 4 adults in this room on a Saturday evening, absolutely mortified, wishing the ground would swallow me, and it went on for longer than my Catholic mother would like. My dad's called Cahill. I know it sounds like you're clearing your throat, but that's his name. Cahill, for goodness sake, can you forward that? So my dad is on the floor on his hands and knees with his finger on the fast forward button while Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis are going at it, hell for leather, double speed. We'll never forget it. Mortified. I think my face was purple. So The Fly, Carrie, the original Firestarter with Drew Barrymore, Poltergeist, Christine, Maximum Overdrive, which I like. I don't care what anyone says. I like Maximum Overdrive. All the old Stephen King stuff. Grew up on horror. I got a job when I left school. Well, a couple of jobs after I left school with Blockbuster, and I ended up managing my own store. I think my love of movies started back when my dad started taking me to the video store. I also remember, completely aside of horror, watching Back to the Future for the first time, falling in love with Michael J. Fox as Marty McFly, and just, I think that was the first movie where I actually thought, wow, oh my god. And that started my real love affair with movies. But I went on to work in the video store, managed the video store. You watched a lot of movies because you had a certain amount of free rentals per week, and you were encouraged to take those in order to be able to recommend stuff to customers. So people would come in all the time. They wouldn't even look on the shelves. They would just come up and say, right, Lisa, what are we watching tonight? And you'd recommend them. And sometimes they'd say, that was a pile of crap. Sometimes they'd love it. So it was when I worked there that I had a lad that I worked with that was really into world cinema, and at that stage I hadn't really dipped my toe yet. I'd seen The Ring, which scared the life out of me. I'd seen The Grudge, which, yeah, it's alright, gets a bit tired after a while. But he sort of had me watch a bit more world cinema, and I got to watch many, many more horrors that I'd never seen before. What have I pulled off here? Right, that sounded all wrong. So my favourite, it's hard because, that's what she said. There's Spanish horror, French horror, Korean horror, Japanese horror, and they're probably my favourite foreign horror. What have I pulled out here? I've only got one. Have I only pulled out one? No, I've got two. Are they both Spanish? I think they're both Spanish. So this is just examples of two of my favourites, purely because they were on the shelf. So, The Devil's Backbone by Guillermo del Toro, and again, Pan's Labyrinth. This movie is just perfection as far as I'm concerned. It's a real fairy tale, dark, brooding. The pale guy is just so creepy looking. Devil's Backbone is one I don't hear people talk about quite as much. Kronos is fantastic. Guillermo del Toro had a real way of introducing a fairy tale element into horror, which I just am all there for. I feel the Spanish horrors tend to be, they have a way of romanticizing anything, and just making everything appear like fairy tale like and beautiful, and even if it's the most gross of subjects, the Spanish have a way of telling that I don't think any other nation can replicate. So I absolutely adore Spanish horror. French horror, now they are a lot more hard hitting. We have obviously Martyrs, which is absolutely fabulous. What's your guesses, guys, below on what is whispered into the lady's ear at the end that prompts her to do what she does? It's always, you always like to think, but what do you think it was? Put spoiler above it, just in case anyone hasn't seen Martyrs. Switchblade Romance, as Marcus mentioned, otherwise known as High Tension. Absolutely fabulous. The effects in that, there's one particular effect in that happens near a staircase, which is just crazy. More recently, now this is going to be pronounced wrong, Titan, I think it's pronounced. One of my favourite movies of, I think it was last year, French body horror, absolutely fantastic, so unique. If you haven't seen Titan, get on it and watch it, guys. If you like things like Switchblade Romance, Martyrs, I think you'll dig this one, but it's a little bit different, a little bit odd, but absolutely batshit crazy fabulous. Trying to think of any more French horror. I'm sure there's loads that's just not coming to my mind at the minute. Oh, with Spanish, the Wreck movies. Now, I've seen all the Wreck movies and I've actually enjoyed all of them. I know the later ones they're not as good as the first one, clearly, but Even the remake, the American remake of Rex, actually not all that bad, which is a rarity that you can say. I was just looking at some movies on my shelves, and then I got to thinking about horror remakes. I've got the original The Hills Have Eyes and the remake. I actually prefer the remake of that, which it's unusual for me to say that. The remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre wasn't actually that bad, but have I picked that up? Yeah, I knew I had it somewhere. This was actually sent to me by a subscriber, which is ridiculous. That someone I had a nice DVD special edition copy, but this is a Blu-ray. Most of my movies are DVDs because I don't upgrade anything. But yeah, this is probably amongst... I've got two favourite horrors and this is one of them, and I find it really hard to choose which one. The reason I mention Texas Chainsaw Massacre is because, now, I hear dog's feet again. Back in the day, I don't know if you call it the same thing all over the UK, but in Northern Ireland, there was a method by which a lot of people got films to watch back in the day, where they would have two VHS, and it was called bouncing a tape. In other words, you're copying a videotape. My dad had a brother that had a tendency to do this, so I saw quite a lot of movies that way too. So I first saw Texas Chainsaw Massacre completely by accident. It wasn't something I sought out. I was never massively into slashers, although I do appreciate a good one. I was watching FBI files because I'm a true crime addict, and someone I knew had taped me a ton of them off the TV, and I was watching them one Saturday afternoon when I was off work, and it finished, and at this stage it was like getting into the wee hours because I'd watched them all day. Yes, I'm that sad. And Texas Chainsaw Massacre was on this VHS after my FBI files, and I thought, oh, I'll just let it play. Now the VHS was not a very good copy, it was quite grainy, but that so completely totally added to the experience for me, and I sat watching that movie. I think my jaw was on the floor for pretty much all of what I saw, and I was so creeped out, and I was so just pinned to the spot in disgust and fear and joy. It was like, oh my god. As a horror fan, I'm sure anyone out there will say we want a movie to frighten us, we want one to push us to our boundaries, we want one to shock us and surprise us. And back then, I was probably in my late teens when I first saw Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I was enthralled. I could not take my eyes off it, but it was scaring the life out of me. Everything about it, the grittiness of it, even the action of Leatherface slamming shut that door terrified me. The scene around the dinner table with Grandpa and the hammer was just, I couldn't get over it. It was the first kind of movie like that I had ever seen. And ever since, it's probably been the movie that I remember having the most visceral reaction to when I first saw it was Texas Chainsaw. The other one of my two favourite movies, which I can't choose between, is this one. Still, American Werewolf in London, if that's not showing up very well. Still the best werewolf movie that exists. Still the best transformation scene that's ever been done. Still not surpassed all these years later. Everything about that movie is fabulous. I do like here's an example of another werewolf movie I really like, Ginger Snaps, which is like a coming of age female werewolf movie. I love how it's been told. Is that, yeah, I'm sure it's American, that's not foreign, is it? No, Ginger Snaps. I love Dog Soldiers. I would say Ginger Snaps, Dog Soldiers and American Werewolf would be my three. I haven't seen The Howling, guys. I know that's maybe a disgrace. Do I need to get on that? I've never seen it. But I love werewolf movies. I like vampire movies, but I love Interview with the Vampire. I think it's The Vampire. I absolutely love the movie. I love the romanticism of it. I love the clothes. I love the acting performances. I love the sort of epic style of it. But in saying all that, as much as I love that movie, I prefer vampire movies where I feel disgusted and frightened, like the 30 Days a Night movies. Those vampires are terrifying. It's the same with zombies. A lot of people, my husband being one, prefers the movies, the more, the Romero movies, where the zombies are really shuffling and slow and deliberate, and no matter how slow they are, they're always catching up with you. Whereas although I love those movies, I prefer the zombie movies where the zombies move really fast, like the, what are they called? 28 Days Later and 20, I've got them over there. I prefer, that scares me more. I think the Romero movies are probably better movies. They're better made, but I respond more to the fast zombies. There was a movie, was it Korean? It was released last year. What was it called? It's not The Wailing, it's the, I can't find this movie. I've been looking for this bloody movie. It was really hard hitting. I think it was from last year. I thought it was called The Sickness, but it isn't. I will try and look a bit further into it and put it on the screen. That was fabulous. It really pushed the boundaries, that one. So let's say we've got vampire movies. I prefer the like bloodthirsty vampires. We've got werewolf, American Werewolf in London. We've got zombies. Now, I'm a big Fulci fan. I prefer Fulci to Romero. I don't know why, I just prefer Fulci's style. It's much more me. But if you want to scare me, I want to see zombies that move really fast. And if I can find the title of that, I will put it up, and that was freaky. There's also nice little ones like #Alive, which aren't too scary, which you could show to like what they call tweens, like my son has watched, sort of as an introduction. And it's like where a lad gets stuck in a high-rise sort of like block of apartments, and it's like almost the apocalypse. Everybody's turned into zombies and he finds one other person. That was really good. I enjoyed that one. This video was all kind of waffly, and I've been waffling for far too long. Right, then we have what you would call torture porn. Don't like that expression. I don't like the Hostel movies. I don't dislike them. I think the special effects are very good, but they don't do anything for me personally. I'd watch it once and it's like, right, okay. But this movie is responsible for a massive love affair. Perhaps you enjoyed 7, this goes up to 8. So Saw is my favourite horror franchise. I will admit all day long that the later entries are probably not very good. Do I care? No. Do I love them? Yes. I love the Saw movies. They speak to me. I love the concept of why whatever is happening is happening. I love the thought of the trap and why the trap is how it is. I love the backstory as to why the person's in the trap. I absolutely adore Saw. I love the whole psychology of it. I love the effects. I love the ingenuity of it. I love the fact the kills are all different. So big love affair for me. Absolutely love it. So we've had werewolves, vampires, zombies, torture porn, foreign movies, Japanese and Korean horror also, I forgot to mention. Absolutely fabulous. I Saw the Devil. Brilliant. They've a way of, there's one called Gonjiam Asylum, which brings me on to the next subject, which is paranormal. Gonjiam Asylum has a few scenes in it which scared the flipping bejesus out of me. Now, overall, the movie is not the best movie in the world, but there were a couple of scenes in a dark room that really got my pulse up. So anything that can do that these days, with the amount of horror I've watched, I'm all there for. So if you like paranormal stuff, it's found footage also. Something I forgot to talk about. One of my favourite horror genres is found footage. It's not everyone's cup of tea. I love found footage. I will watch any of them. Some of them are better than others. Blair Witch, obviously, I did see. This is going to make me look like an awful person. I saw Blair Witch before it came out in the cinemas in the UK because someone I knew had got a Japanese import on DVD. Burned on a DVD. It was maybe a cam. I don't know what it was, but I saw it anyway before it hit the cinemas here. People don't seem to understand nowadays that back when that came out, we didn't have the well, I certainly didn't have the internet to look things up. If you wanted to know something, you had to go read it in a magazine or go to the library. There wasn't that facility of Google to look everything up. And when that was marketed, you couldn't look up and see that the people in it were actresses and all this crap. People say, how did anyone ever fall for that? You did. Back then, it was like, when I watched it before it was in the cinema, I was like, did this happen? Is this real? Because it was so, I think prior to that, we had a film called The Last Broadcast, which I think was before Blair Witch was found footage. But I'd never seen anything like it, and it terrified me when I first saw it. Now, watching it now, I still love it, but it obviously doesn't scare me as much now that we're very used to the genre. But back then, guys, if you didn't have the internet and you didn't have a resource to check things, and the whole marketing was that this was real. And you didn't really have movies that came up at the beginning and said this really happened. You know, it's like, yeah, fuck it worked for me. So found footage, absolutely love it. I'm sure I could think of, there's an Australian one, I think it's called The Tunnel, which is one of my favourite found footages. I think it's hideously underrated. I absolutely love it. Quite a recent one, maybe last year, Deadstream. I was going to say live stream. Deadstream. Now, this movie got so much hate. People said that the lead actor in it, who it's mostly him for the whole movie, that they found him really irritating, and they even switched off. I loved him. He made me laugh out loud. The film started really slow, which I love. It was a builder, which I love. I remember Marcus saying, I'm just looking at the time about Sammy G making a half-hour long video. We're getting there, folks. Let's try not to do it. Yeah, Deadstream. Check it out if you haven't seen it. I loved it. It built. It was slow. It was deliberate. It had an excuse for being a found footage. There was a reason. And it built up, and the end was very Evil Dead. The whole style of it, fantastic. So where are we? We didn't talk about Gothic horror. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. This version of Frankenstein with Robert De Niro and Kenneth Branagh is probably my favourite as of now. Maybe there will be another one. Obviously Universal Monsters. We all love the original Universal Monsters Frankenstein, but I love this version with Robert De Niro. You just feel so completely sorry for the character, and it embodies how you should feel, and that he's not monstrous and that he's a victim. And it felt very much for me similar to how we feel, this is going to sound awful, but how we feel about the Elephant Man, how we feel as to people's reactions to him, and how we realise how he is inside. As an audience, we know who he is, how he is, that he's this gentle person, and it has that real empathy, which I feel really works. Personally, for me, I love Frankenstein. Of the Universal monsters, Frankenstein's monster, sorry, not Frankenstein. Frankenstein's monster is by far my favourite. So let's not waffle about those anymore. Why have I got Drag Me to Hell? I've looked at Drag Me to Hell. I obviously thought it was something else. I do really enjoy this, and I don't tend to like comedy horror, but I thought this was really good. It's got the type of horror that makes you go, ugh, and laugh at the same time. That vomiting scene, or was it vomiting or saliva into her mouth? Whatever it was minging. Rob Zombie, I'm a massive fan. This is my favourite Rob Zombie movie, House of a Thousand Corpses. I do like the Halloween movies. I don't particularly feel they fit well into the franchise, but I still enjoy them. Devil's Rejects, I think that's what I was meant to pick up. Devil's Rejects, for some reason I've got Drag Me to Hell. Right, last one. Oh no, sorry, Jesus. Classic horror. One of my favourites. I haven't lifted Misery. What the hell's wrong with me? Right, while we're talking about American Werewolf in London and Texas Chainsaw Massacre, to me, the most perfect film in the world, why I forgot about it is anybody's guess, is Misery, which is over there and I haven't picked it off my shelves. Misery to me is perfection. It doesn't matter how many times. I have to stop watching it because my husband was sick of the sight of it. Not that again. How many times are you going to watch this? I rewatch that. I love it. Everything about it. Annie Wilkes is just, I love a good female villain, and Annie Wilkes just ticks every box for me. I absolutely adore her. Kathy Bates is one of my favourite actresses. I love her. And obviously this one, The Shining, perfection. I prefer the movie to the book. I know Stephen King's not a big fan. I think the movie's more believable. I know it's not massively believable, but do I think that putting what they call topiary animals chasing people would have worked in that film? No, I don't. I think how they done it was much better. I love The Shining. I think it's absolutely fabulous. Jack Nicholson, I don't feel his depiction of Jack Torrance, that madness has been done better by anyone else, any other character that's meant to be a little bit insane. I can't think of any other actor that's done that as well as he has done that. It's just fabulous. Right, on to the last horror subject. I could talk, guys, for another half hour, but I won't do it. I adore this movie, The Exorcism of Emily Rose, based on a true story, which it is. Anneliese Michel, I think she was Austrian or Austrian, and the poor girl, parents had priests in to exorcise her, and she actually died in the end in the true story. This is obviously massively Exaggerated. It stars, oh, what the hell's her name? I just think of her as Dexter's sister. It's not Laura Lynn. Jennifer Carpenter. Jennifer Carpenter, who, if you like Dexter, plays Dexter's sister Debs. She is so good in this. Why is she not in more movies? I love her. I love her whole attitude. I love her potty mouth. I love her strength. But in this, she is a young girl that becomes possessed. And the movie obviously takes the viewpoint that she is possessed. Obviously, in real life, did she have mental health issues that, you know, they had priests in, all sorts. I won't go into it, but if you're interested, there is a really interesting like videos on YouTube where you can hear her actual recordings of her voice when they're trying to exorcise her, which are pretty creepy stuff. I did a video, I might link it at the end if you want to watch it, where I talk about the true story and this movie and sort of the comparison and tell you the story of Annalise. I'll link that at the end. But I love paranormal movies. I love ghost movies. I love a good exorcism movie. We had two good ones earlier this year. Not exorcism, but paranormal. We had I was going to say The Nun. Never say The Nun. The Nun's awful. I mean, this is weird. I'm not a fan of the Conjuring universe, and I so should be, because it like is right up there with all my favourite subjects, but it just didn't work for me. I don't know why. I'm not a fan of the Conjuring universe at all. I think the Nun movies are terrible. I think Valak, the imagery is fabulous. I think she's creepy as hell. If they had have kept her as that picture in that movie, that really, really worked. Don't give her her own movie. Just don't dilute it. I don't feel it worked personally. Nun movie. The Omen, the first Omen. Come on, everyone was expecting it to be absolutely rubbish. I know some people weren't fans of it, some people didn't like it, but I thought it was fab. Who's not to love sexy nuns? I mean, really, but a little bit of body horror in that, which was fantastic, but I thought that was a fabulous movie. That's kind of right up my street, and at the same time, what's the one your woman was in? The one that everyone fancies, Sydney Sweeney. You're shouting at the screen. So Lisa had to go Google Immaculate. I actually slightly preferred Immaculate to the first Omen. I loved both, but I absolutely loved the idea behind Immaculate and what they were doing. In the same way I loved the idea behind what they were doing with the first Omen. My only complaint about Immaculate was there was something that I feel it should have shown us at the end and it didn't show us. I wanted to see the thing at the end. I was in the cinema to see that on my own with a couple in front of me. And at the end, they turned up and the guy stood around and said to me, Jesus, he said, that was fucked up. He says, did you like that? I says, yeah, I really enjoyed it. I says, I just wish they had showed us the thing at the end. And he looked at me like I had two heads and walked out of the cinema. I think he thought the movie was a bit too much. It was a bit OTT. But a horror fan wants that, wants the OTT. Right, I'm going to stop, guys, because I could talk just literally for hours about horror. I love it. I love all different genres within it. Slasher's probably my least favourite of all of them. Paranormal, like world cinema. I say slashers, but I love martyrs, which is kind of, you know, I love Switchblade Romance. I do like a good gory movie, but there's loads I didn't talk about. Human Centipede movies. I have seen a Serbian film. I've watched it once, I'll never watch it again. I do feel that pushed the boundary too far for me personally, but I do feel that the boundary's different for everyone, so you have to allow, if something's not real, you have to allow other people their boundary, even though it's further than yours. I don't like when people say, oh, you're sick, you've watched this. It's like, no. To a normal person, someone that watches Saw is sick. To a horror fan, a lot of people that would watch The Human Centipede or a Serbian film are sick. I say sort of give people, as long as what you're watching depicted is not real on the screen, give people what they want to watch. I just don't like the fact that the directors try to say it was a political allegory for the situation in Serbia, and there's no way in this life you could watch that movie and link it to a political bollocks. The problem with it is, I've done a video about a Serbian film in detail as well. It's a really good movie. It's very well made. It's very well acted. It's got an ominous tone throughout, which is fabulous. The effects are out of this world, but there's two subject matters in there concerning children, which are taboo for most people and are over my boundary, and it was too much for me. I watched the whole movie and at the end I'm like, the end would not have packed the punch that it did had they not went where they did. But there's a scene in the middle with an infant. Yes, a guy's an infant. That I do not feel adds to anything, and I don't feel should be in the story at all. I do feel the end scene really drives home just complete depravity and shock, and it goes there. So I get it. It's just a movie I would only ever watch the once. My big line where I disagree with things vehemently, and again, people have a right to have their own line. My line is things like Cannibal Holocaust. Again, fabulous movie, brilliant movie, shocking movie. Everyone knows that there are animals that were killed for real in that movie. People have said they were going to be killed anyway, Indigenous people, blah blah blah. Do I think we should have to watch that as entertainment? Do I want to see the stuff that it showed in that as entertainment? Fuck no. I'm forever grateful to John from Mondo Chilovic Movies, who told me there's a cut version of Cannibal Holocaust that you can watch that does not have the animal cruelty in. So if you ever want to see it, it is a very good movie if you're a horror fan, but you don't want to see that aspect, you can see the cut version. So yeah, in saying that, I have never watched it again. Yeah, but that is my line, that kind of thing. But everybody's line's in a different place. As long as it's not real, as long as what I'm watching, I mean, guys, I can't watch nature documentaries because it might show one animal killing another animal. That's how much of a sap I am. I don't want to see lions in the Serengeti bringing down fucking reindeers or reindeers in the Serengeti. I don't want to see lions bringing down zebras. I don't want to see crocodiles pulling things that's having a wee drink of water. I don't want to see it. It's just, I need child versions of wildlife programs to watch where nothing dies and nothing bad happens. Lisa, that's not real life. I know, but I don't want to fucking see real life if that's what it is. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening. If you did this far to my ramblings, folks, as you probably have guessed, a massive horror fan, but also a massive movie fan. I will watch movies of any genre. Action's kind of not my thing, but I'm not going to get... I'm started. Die Hard, Lethal Weapon, that kind of thing. I'm there for it all day. The indie movies, fantastic, but I'm not a massive fan of most action movies. The sort of like ABC, you know, of action, not really for me. But other than that, movies all day long of all descriptions, but horror will always have my heart. And I think I've got my dad to thank for that, for introducing little old me to Stephen King's back catalogue at probably the age of 7 or 8. Naughty father. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I now have to tag 2 people, and I didn't even think of this. Right. I'm going to tag 2 people who I don't think will pick... Oh God, he might pick horror. I want to pick... I don't want one horror fan to recommend to another, to another, to another, and then everybody's going horror. I want to pick somebody that I genuinely don't know what genre they'll choose. I'm going to tag Aaron from Screen Stars, who I know is a massive horror fan and loves found footage, but I also know he likes lots of other things. So I'm going to tag Aaron from Screen Stars. And... right, I'm going to tag 2 people here. Please, guys, no hassle to do this because I know they're both desperately busy individuals, but I'm going to tag Sean from Lost in the Reel, who I have no idea what his favourite movie genre is, no clue, and I'm going to tag Dan from The Upside Down, both part of the Cinema Squad, both massive movie fans, and both I have no idea what their favourite movie genre is, so I would be super interested to find out. I will have linked Marcus, who tagged me. Please subscribe to Marcus. He is fabulous, big movie fan, big horror fan, lovely guy. Dan and Sean, who I have tagged, I will be linking them below. Aaron from Screen Stars, and also the originator of the original tag, Nerdygeezer78. Oh, I've shut my bloody screen down. Nerdygeezer78. How's that from memory? You'll not see that very often from me. I've gone over the 30 minutes. Sam, you've not got the longest video anymore. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Over and out. Reminisce.